Hi, everybody. I just completed the last role play of the semester, role play number 4. And I chose to, I don't know if this is like really a technique or like they describe it in the book. The chapter is the improving the relationships with our environment um, chapter. And I chose to do the technique of skills to handle conflict and anger. The counseling intention is to gain control of the situation. The description is that there are 7 skills to process when angry and in conflict, and it is important to rethink and gain control of the situation. This is not a acronym that I was familiar with prior to reading through this chapter, but I think it's extremely helpful. Um, it's it's simple. I think there are tricky parts to it, especially depending on the client. Um, Especially if you have a really angry client. My client was Catherine, who actually sits right behind me, and that was actually a true life problem she was having. Her boyfriend does live in Boston, and they do have that kind of disconnect communication about him working so much and studying so much. Um, so she was really eager to be my person, and she also was not familiar with this technique, so she thought it was helpful as well. Um, we really didn't rehearse anything. It was really just her sharing freely, and it was really, really good to be able to do that and to be able to use somebody else. I've used 2 other girls in my office as well. Um, I think that and this is something I reflected on the whole time. Um, you know, I felt like I was talking a lot, um, but I was also doing a teaching moment, so I can understand like why I might have been talking so much. Had we had more time, I didn't want to go more like over the limit or anything. Um, I would have had her process things a little bit more. I would have worked with her more on validating, worked with her more on the I feel statements and things like that. But obviously, for time purposes, I wasn't able to do that. Um, I definitely could still slow my rate of speech down. I don't know if it's just because I'm trying to cram it all in that it's like that. I feel like when I'm doing counseling here in the group sessions, I'm not quite as rushed. Um, but overall, I think it's a really helpful technique. I think that that can be used in a lot of different situations and kind of makes a lot of people stop and think. I incorporated the iceberg into it. I kind of like I've used that with my kids here, so I kind of like brought that into it because it does mention under the recognizing that when anger is a cover for another emotion such as fear, stress, anxiety, embarrassment, humiliation, or shame. So I wanted to highlight that, but I really like visuals. And I know that not everyone is going to appreciate a visual, but an iceberg is a pretty easy one. And when prior to her coming here, she hadn't seen that, so that was kind of cool. Um, I think, oh, also ignore the little clip in between. My computer went black for a second, and I was worried it stopped recording. It did not stop recording, but I was worried about that. Something I think I can do better too is kind of explaining the integrate piece. I got really caught up in that for a second and really nervous and really anxious. I was like, I can't remember what this is. And I kind of just fed her a statement, and I wouldn't want to do that. I would want her to be able to give me that statement instead. But I got a little stuck there, so that's something I need to keep in mind, and I can continue to work on. Um, yeah, I mean, she is the third person, like I said, that I've done a role play with, and each person said I've made them feel pretty comfortable. I know that doing role plays can be really uncomfortable and kind of awkward, and they felt pretty comfortable, which makes me confident that I can, make clients comfortable. Obviously, they're a little bit more comfortable around me because they work with me, but it does give me that, sense of security knowing like I can make people feel comfortable, make people want to open up, make people talk, things like that. So I really liked this technique. I'm definitely going to add it to my tool bag, especially with people dealing with anger. There are a lot of other good ones in here for anger, and I struggled to pick out which one I wanted to use. I think in a session too, you could integrate a couple of them together, maybe just like really focusing on like one letter at a time and spending a little bit of time with that. Um, But yeah, I think that another, if I were Catherine's counselor, my next step would be to be able to kind of diffuse, like, see, revisit this, see if it worked, see what worked, what didn't work, what we can try differently next time, how Ethan received it, all of those things, and really process that with her is what I would focus on in my next session. Um, but that was great. I really enjoyed this technique, and I'm gonna keep it.